No more than innate ideas, the human mind contains intrinsically no synthetic functional forms and laws, what Kant calls categories, which could bestow on the inchoate material of his sense datum, Kant's sensations and instinctive impulses, the objective, formal characteristics of an entity. Our mere thought and cognition are incapable of creating, producing, forming anything, unless it be figments and ciphers. Both the inchoate, amorphous material of sensation and the nowhere to be found functions of regular syntheses, the categorical functions, are pure inventions of Kant, each conditional on the other. The formal unities, which Kant adduces as examples of his categories, as well as many another which he does not adduce, are dispositions of the object, and pertain as such to the given thing itself. Here I include substance and causality, relations, shapes, etc. The perceptual content of our intuitive grasp of an object is incomparably richer than the partial content corresponding to a pure sensation. By pure, I mean as conditioned only by external stimulus, and within the sensation to the various modalities of sensation. And even this partial content is never a real part of the datum, but only a fictional product of comparison, derived from the comparison of separate, unitary acts of intentional perception, whose functional components vary, even if the stimuli are constant. Thus, forms are given perceptually, not bestowed by the subject, and sensational elements are given with forms only insofar as they serve to implement or supplement the unitary perceptual intention. From these two principles, we may infer the following. Our mind has a form of contact with things which in itself is unmediated by the sensory organism of our body and is basic and unitary, in contrast to the multiplicity of sensory functions. The senses merely analyze this mental contact in different ways. They are not creators, but only analysts of our mind's total unitary perception. And as analysts, they are concerned to assess the value of the datum as a biological stimulus, according to whether it may induce beneficial or harmful reactions in the organism, which belongs to the mental person as the subject of the overall perception. On the other hand, there is no foundation at all for the hypothesis of Kantian epistemology that anything in the empirical datum which reaches beyond the previously given sensational content, objecthood, being, realness, unitary forms of substance and causality, relations, shapes, values, the intuitive complexity underlying space, time, magnitude, quantity, number, etc., etc., must first have been produced or introduced by the activity of the human mind. This is of the very first error of Kant's philosophy. The human mind has no such world-constructing gift as that which Kant attributes to it. To envisage it on that model is to confuse it with the mind of God. Moreover, if we attribute creative power at the level of thought and cognition, it becomes impossible to see the true importance of that conduct and volition which alone can create. But false as are these two forms of the old a priori teachings, the doctrine of innate ideas and that of synthetic categorical functions, the great distinction of a priori and a posteriori must still be jealously guarded, though in quite another form, as a distinction inherent in the object itself. Within any perceptual datum, everything is a priori, which belongs to the sphere of pure identity and essence, i.e., the assemblage of all those qualitative dispositions of the object, left after discarding its existential modes, which as qualitative are indefinable and therefore taken as irreducible in any attempt at definition. These then are essences, and can only be seen. Any other element of the perceptual datum is a posteriori. Now the principle governing the relation between essential and contingent facts, that everything true of an object's essence is unconditionally true of all possibles sharing that essence, holds good without our first having to be assured of its validity through an induction. The categorical forms of being are then only the essential facts subdividing the being real of objects into basic modes of realness, or of becoming real. Thus, though they do form part of the a priori, they form only a part, the formal part, and in fact the formal part, which has to do not with the objects in general, but with the modes of realness of objects. Over against them stand the absolutely formal truths of the pure theory of objects, those truths, that is, which apply to everything insofar as it possesses the essence of objecthood, and also the supraformal, substantial a priori truths which describe the specific identity and content of real objects. Knowledge of the a priori sector of a datum is neither inborn nor, as to content, a pure